Welcome to the Coach Speak podcast, built for coaches, by coaches, hosted by Jamie Bolton and Dustin Martin.
Hey guys, welcome back to Coach Speak. Dustin Martin here with Jamie Bolton. We got a special guest out of the great state of North Carolina tonight. Jamie's going to get into that, but before that, we want to shout out to our premier sponsor, Coach Speak Pro. Guys, still got the promo codes running, $200 off of a individual membership or 50% off the staff pack.
Yeah, guys, today's guest has built a career a little differently than most offensive coordinators. Justin Grandenetti is the offense coordinator, wide receivers coach, and recruiting coordinator at Jack Britt High School in North Carolina. Before arriving at Jack Britt more than a decade ago, he coached wide receivers at Pace University and even spent time working as a recruiting specialist, giving him a unique perspective on both player development and what college programs are truly looking for. He's also the co-host of the Top of the Route podcast, where he studies and teaches wide receiver play with coaches from across the country. Today, we're diving into what elite receiver play looks like and how an OC and quarterback stay connected even when they're not in the same position room, and what it takes to build an offense from the outside in. Coach Grandenetti, welcome to the show.
Hey, fellas. Hey, appreciate you guys having me on, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, man. So let's get right into it. So, Coach, most offensive coordinators coach quarterbacks or offensive line. You spent your career coaching wide receivers. How has that changed the way you see offense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still, it offers obviously a different perspective. It's funny because, being a wideouts coach, I think, and a play caller, typically, I think from the outside in, people would think that, I just want to throw the ball around all the time and feed my guys. It's definitely something we pride ourselves on, being able to pass the football, but, it's really what works for us best and what we can get rolling. So having that perspective of just the pass game first is cool, but, still having that respect for the run game. I rely heavily on, my O-line coach, Coach Milligan, just kind of, making sure we build a proper game plan, and our running backs coach, Coach Abernathy. But it's cool. I mean, again, at the end of the day, we're going to pass that ball around, but even from a wider perspective, man, we want to be physical. We want to establish the run because I believe in setting a physical tempo, physical tone of the game, and establishing kind of a mental edge just by, the presence that we bring on the perimeter.
Yeah, that's so good. And, as you were talking, because I started thinking, I was like, okay, I started out as an OL guy, and you think kind of about the run fit structure, inside out, inside runs, and then, hey, can we reach the defensive end or OLB? It's kind of just what we think. Then as a quarterback guy, you're like, oh, man, what's the coverage structure? How can we attack it throwing the ball? And it's like, I was thinking, I'm like, how would we think about it as a wide receiver coach? And I'm interested to hear your further as we go in this conversation, but it's like, a big part that you probably see is leverage, how 100%. The perimeter, it's something I think that me as an OL guy and the quarterback guy for a little while, I didn't attack leverage and pursuit enough, I guess, when going against defenses. So talk a little bit about that and how that kind of shapes you as a wide receiver coach, OC.
Yeah, Coach, you nailed it. Leverage is huge, right? We talk to our guys all the time about numbers, leverage and matchups. And leverage for us is huge. So from the wider perspective, we deal with that a ton. We don't get a ton of time. Obviously, being high school coaches, we don't get a ton of time with our guys, film and even practice individuals. So really diving into coverages sometimes isn't the most advantageous route because, we have so much other stuff to cover. So, how can we expedite the information to them so that they absorb it and still understand what to do, while not necessarily knowing, all right, this is cover 6, this is, so we got to talk about leverages and depths and things like that. So it gives us a perspective, we do talk about coverage structures from kind of like a picture standpoint. I kind of give them contours, which will help us a little bit understand what it is. And then we kind of build off that. So even in the run game, right? Like understanding who the force players are, where the leverage, where we have certain leverage, advantages and things like that helps us diagnose and diagram what we want to do to the defense.
Yeah. So do you guys have a pretty dialed in or detailed language that you use, like when you're identifying those defenders, especially because you're a receiver guy? Do you guys identify them the same way as, say, the OL or the quarterback would?
I would say it's pretty similar. We'll talk about if outside guys or whatever, we'll just talk. Is the inside leverage? Is the outside leverage? For us, obviously like leverage could determine whether it's zone or man. Obviously coverages now and D coordinators are getting more creative with how they disguise stuff. But, we're able to kind of tell whether, a player is playing zone or man just by how he's leveraged and then, how he turns. Like we're big on hip angles. Something I got from Dub Maddox a while ago, just kind of reading those books, just in regard to like the hip angle stuff. So, obviously hips open up towards the sideline, you're talking man coverage, right? And the opposite if it's zone. So my guys understand that, you know what I mean? We ultimately we want to get the defender's hips to flip vertical, right, towards the end zone. That gives us an advantage on any breaking routes. But yeah, it's similar, man. We're going to talk about the leverages, and then depths for us is pretty big from a route running standpoint.
Yeah, and it's funny you're talking through all that. It's like we live in modern day defense where disguise is a big word and it's a big buzzword, but you can only disguise so much until it puts you in a bad position of what you're supposed to execute post snap. And it's like having the tails, especially at our level, the weak safety. The number one thing, if you're game planning defense, is look at the weak safety, especially if they're a too high team that likes to spin to one here and there. Sure. The weak safety, especially with high school hashes, if he's got to get to the middle of the field, he's not going to be outside the hash in the boundary. It's not going to happen. He's going to give it away. And if he is, he better be a heck of an athlete to get to the middle of the field. You know?
Doubt.
And I think to your point, Coach, is, if you can figure out just those minute details, hip angles, depth off, and you can dial into what do they do out of this shell or this look the most.
Absolutely.
And that's really good piece of advice.
Absolutely. And just being able to see, right, those, just kind of honestly going back to one of the earlier questions kind of popped in my mind from, because being a wideouts guy, I think one of the advantages that we have sometimes is being able to talk to our guys, both wideouts and quarterbacks, about route, adjustments, right? So for instance, I got a corner route. I go and hit my corner route. There's a safety or some type of defender playing over top. My leverage is capped, so I'm going to flatten it out. Being able to tell those guys and really explain, the route adjustments and explain why really allows us to open up the pass game a little bit more and find space.
Yes.
Yeah, I think too, being able to teach receivers, I think is a huge benefit for an OC, because I was a receiver coach for a lot longer than I've been a play caller. And I think having an understanding of what you're talking about, of space and leverage, and being able to teach a whole room full of guys to be on the same page with timing, I think that makes it easier to kind of transition to talk to a quarterback. Talk to us a little about how you communicate with the quarterback in your system, and how that kind of flows, with what he's responsible for in the offense.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially right now during the summer, we have one of our JV wideout coach is also the JV head coach, but he's someone who actually played for me while at Jack Britt. And I coached him in high school and I coached him in college. So he has a firm understanding of what I teach and how I teach it. So, I can honestly spend more time with the quarterbacks because our quarterback coach, during the summer, sometimes he's not able to get there. So our head coach will work with them, but I'm able to kind of go over there. So I can have that direct contact with those guys a little bit more than maybe some other people, just because, again, I trust that my JV wideouts coach, he can explain it all. He's good with that. So, but we want to be on the same page. We got to speak the same language, so if I'm telling my, if I'm telling my wideouts, hey, you gotta, you're the outside guy, you got to speed out against off outside leverage. Both of us got to be able to know that we're spraying it, meaning we're going to attack the outside leverage and still bang that 4-step speed out. And we got to be able to speak that same language so that there's no confusion. Where that ball's got to be, and that wideout knows where the ball's gonna be. So being able to have those conversations, whether it's during practice, I'm always open, right? Like I'm always telling those guys, hey, reach out to me. We use the Remind app. Hey, hit me up on Remind app. Ask questions. Like the coordinator, quarterback relationship has to be tight.
Yeah,
so just being able to speak that same language with the guys is huge. So I want to make sure. And one of the things I feel like I've prided myself on over the years, which back in the day we didn't really necessarily get. We were told what to do and kind of just did it. Is really fully explaining everything. I want to teach as much as possible, but I also feel like it helps those guys understand better, which equates to them executing what we're
Exactly.
asking at a higher level.
Yeah, and it's so great, and I think this is an important piece to basically hit on what you're talking about, coaches. This past season, I'm at a new team on a new offensive staff, and it's super important. We were talking to try to be on that same language, and they had a great language prior to my arrival, so
Yeah.
it's more my job as a new coach to, okay, what do they call this? How do they call this?
Absolutely.
And it's easier for one person to adapt than it is for everybody else, to learn, all get on the new page. And I think where they've been really good is there's a couple things that I've just brought new eyes to, because we can always, we can use new eyes to adapt and get better. Is, if I think two concepts are the same, or we have two names for a concept, I'm like, hey, well, what if we do this? And then we just add a tag. So maybe it's a little bit easier. We're getting the same thing. And it all comes down to we're all in the same language. And, there's been times I've only been there 2 or 3 months that I've caught myself and told the kid, hey, this is my fault, or this is our fault, because coach is calling this a spray hitch. I'm calling it a 5x1. Like, that's on us. That's not on you guys. I'm going to make sure we call it the same thing. And it's so great to have a staff that has no ego, and we're all there for the same goal. And a lot of us don't care what we call it. We just want to make sure we call it the same thing for the kid. And I think that was exactly what you were just saying just then.
Absolutely. And honestly, coach, like I'm a big believer in giving those guys ownership, right? So like, whether maybe it's a new trick play or a new concept we want to put in, like, I want them to name it. Like, I want you to think of how we can adjust it. Hey, what do you like better? Like, so for instance, right, one of our concepts, we have a bang 8 or a short post. All right. Now, to me, we can bang that a couple different ways. We can keep it high against a certain coverage, or we can flatten it out. Well, the quarterbacks just happen to throw it better flattened. All right. So, hey, scrap the high exit. We're just going to flatten it out every time. And that's something I allowed them to do because it's not an ego thing with me. Like, they got to perform. So if it's better for them, I'm all for it. And I think when they take ownership in it, right, they have stake in what we're doing. Man, there's so much more buy-in for those guys. Like, my quarterback last year, he would come in Fridays. Like, I would have fourth period planning, and he would come in. He would, whether it was early release or he'd come back to the school early, and we would meet and chop it up about the game plan a little bit more before the game was there. Just kind of, hey, let's go over the call sheet together just so you can see it. Hey, is there anything you want to change? Is there stuff that and again, like, having that ownership for those guys, I think, is huge.
Yeah, that pays dividends, I think, moving down the road too, like, especially as you start to figure out not only with buy-in, but if they start to like it, then you're starting to run it more. Obviously, then you're going to get better and better at it.
I love that. I think it's great. We'll even sometimes, like, right now during the summer, I mean, we got 3 young quarterbacks, and we're just kind of seeing what they got. I mean, we've had a couple practices. Hey, during 7-on-7, hey, you guys are calling your own stuff. Like, you guys are going to call it. Not only did it see what they knew, but we also saw what they were confident in throwing. And I think that's key too, right? Because I can like a certain concept and we can find a way to run it, sure. But if this dude is super confident at running, X, Y, and Z, let's make sure X, Y, and Z is in the game plan. If we can get it off against that coverage, if it's a good look, he knows what to do. He feels good about it. And let's roll with it. So watching those guys, especially younger dudes, watching those guys being able to kind of, call it themselves and have to command, not, they still got to command the huddle, but like really kind of coach it, making sure guys are in the right spot, but seeing what they went to was critical information for us. And I thought it was really good for them too.
Love that philosophy. And I think you're definitely a player's coach. And I think if I played for you, I would love that, because it seems like you have an open door, coach. I like this, or hey, we want to do, and you're also going to give the freedom to make a mistake. Hey, you go call your own play. You better have the right protection, or you better have the right, thing set up. So let's talk a little bit about your operations. So just offensively, let's talk about your offensive philosophy. What do you want to do? And then maybe talk about like the mechanics of how you get the play called in. How does the quarterback communicate? I'm just really interested in how you guys do that.
Yeah. So so my philosophy is always, I want to be simple in the fact of like of what we run. I don't necessarily want to run a 100 plays, but I want to make it look all different. So we're a big personnel team. We kind of toggle through a bunch of different personnels. I would say our top three are 11, 12, and 13. I mean, even being a wideouts guy, like 10 personnel is probably what you see us in the least. We find certain teams that matches up well against, and we will go to that more. But I've kind of simplified. So the offense that I came in with was my head coach's offense, and I kind of took it on full autonomy in 2019 and ended up kind of putting my own spin on things, whether it's adding new plays. But one of the things I did was simplify the language of the formation calls. Not to say it was wrong or bad or anything like that. We had formation calls that were, certain thing like twins right strong was a 12 personnel and rip was a 10 personnel. And for me, I'm like, I want to make this as simple as possible. We're going to call everything to the Y, and, depending on the personnel, the structure is going to look different. And that's what I wanted. So if I call deuce right, whether it's 11, 12, or 13, it's going to look totally different.
Yep.
And I think that's helped us. It's helped us streamline the information, because the formation is what it is. We're going to call it, we'll call it to the Y, and the guys know where to line up. Being personnel based is not only allowed us to be a little bit more multiple in our looks, but it's allowed us to get different kids involved. And that was something that was important to me too. Because how many times do you have that kid that maybe doesn't get a whole lot of playing time unless, maybe it's garbage time now we can find a spot for him potentially. And now he's more engaged. I feel like that was always big for me, like making sure those guys stay engaged. Well, hey, now, yeah, you're not an everyday or every personnel guy, but hey, on 13 personnel, you're the down tight end, 100%.
Yep.
You down block, you arc, whatever. But now you have ownership in that personnel, and you're more engaged in what's going on. And there's I love the buy-in that we get. As far as the information, we're a signaling team. We will hand signal stuff. We'll use the board sometimes. And then we also have tempo calls, one-word calls that we'll use, whether it's a numbered system or just or one-word stuff that will tell us formation, play, protection, all that. So we kind of use all three of those.
I love hearing other coaches and kind of what they do and what's worked for them. But the biggest thing you said that sticks out to me is you took what you know and you made it your own. And I think that's a big thing that, the coaches that I've been around or have talked to, like all the ones who take what they've learned and tried to make it fit what they want and their vision and identity are typically the coaches that have a lot of success. Not saying that you can't cookie cutter a playbook and run exactly what someone else does, because we all are running the same plays, but we all have our little swagger to it. You know what I mean? It's like,
100%.
Like to your point, I remember I worked with a guy, Michael Bonjavango, and he played for Longo when he was at Slippery Rock. And he told me that they basically had 4 formation families and they just had a bunch of tags. And he went through it all, and I was like, oh, this is great. But then I started getting into, well, what if I want this and this? And I started going down that rabbit hole, and I was like, okay, I need to have it where it makes sense to me.
That's the key.
And so for me, it was, hey, Rio Leo is my trips formations. It doesn't matter what personnel we're in. If we go Rio, that's trips, 10 personnel. Rio on is trips with a tight end, 11. Rio off is 20 with an H-back. But any personnel can be on the field, and that makes sense to me. We could be in 20 personnel, and I could call Rio, and the two backs better figure out where to go in Rio. And and that's the biggest thing. What makes sense to you? What have you learned from everywhere, and how can you package it? Because at the end of the day, you got to call it, and it's like Jamie, when we were together, and I don't know if he still does this, wink, wink, but like he didn't set the H-back or the running back. And I grew up in a system like that, but I personally like being able to call it. I want to set my H-back because it's easier for me to go, hey, rip off, zip, and run the run play versus
because you're smarter than I am. And I don't want to have to think.
But you do. To your point, Jimmy, I have to script out all right hash and left hash calls, because if I don't, I can screw something up.
Yeah, so we took the Malzahn system. It was given to us by I'm drawing a blank.
Brent Dearman.
Brent Dearman. Yeah, so Brent Dearman, we actually had him on the podcast.
Coach Dearman's great.
And so he taught us the Malzahn system, and it was like they used to do the same thing. Now they had a whole number system for everything, but they would call H-back stuff. It would be like twins right, stack right. So the back and the H are stacked to the right, or split right, or split left, or stack left. And I'm like, no, dude, we can't. And then they got away from it, and they just said, whatever the play is where the H is going to line up.
Yeah.
Which is that was, to me, I was like, I'm in. And we also did it with the back. And so now the back has a hard rule, the H has a hard rule, and
Yep.
man, we can. And now I'm in split back because it's the same rules. I can get in go or split back, and I don't have to call anything. They just know I'm
Yeah.
lining up on this side because it's my assignment. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I love it.
No, I love that. I love that. I mean, similar to us, like the back is going to align based on the play. Same thing, with our tight end. I mean, obviously we're gonna call it formation based, but like he knows where
Right.
he's got to end up. And it's funny because when I was at Pace, we were a West Coast system, so not only is it super wordy terminology, but you want to talk about all the different formations. And I mean, we had formations that had built-in motions, like it was a ton. So now I nerd out on that stuff. Like I thought that stuff was cool as crap. And I would be learning that stuff. I'm drawing it over and over. But obviously in the high school world, we got to be a little bit simpler. And it's funny because we had a really good tight end some years ago. He's at South Carolina State now. One of my dudes, Jabari Roan, he's going to be a really he's going to have a really strong finish to his career. He's got 2 more years left. But it was funny because we said our offense became Bari proof, and Bari proof was just like, hey, we're calling everything to him, so he can't mess it up. We're going to call everything to him. He can't mess it up. So if it's Trips left, he's on the left. If it's Trey right, he's on the right. If it's Deuce left, he's on the left. And it was like, it worked so well. And it just allowed us again to structure things a certain way and make it simpler for those guys and streamline the information so they just knew where to go.
Exactly.
And it's been, like I said, it's been good for us. I love being able to switch up the personnel on people. I love to be able to still call basic stuff, but we're just going to give different structures, and I think that gives us an advantage.
And you hit on it. Is I think whenever you build your system, you have to be able to teach your system. So it's not just hey guys, and Trips right, the Y and H they go this way, and Trips left, the Y and no. It needs to be broken in formation rules. Hey guys, to your point, hey, the Y is who we set every formation to, or who we set the formations to. In 2x2, our rules are this guy goes with the Y. In 3x1, this guy goes opposite, or whatever it may be. And it's like, you have to be able to teach it. And I think you have to have a base way you do everything. And then, hey, here's the adjustment way. So like, for example, run game wise as a base, I love going, every run is going to start opposite. The back is going to be on the opposite way that we run it. And then we're going to have the ability to tag same side if we want the back on the same side the run's designed to go. Some people do it per concept. Hey, you might be same side on this concept or opposite, but it's like, as long as you have a way where kids understand, or the coaches, it's really coaches. Hey guys, when we meet as a staff, we want to go over these concepts. This is the process. We talk about that all the time here. What is the process to achieve? And you hit on it earlier, Coach, is having that language. So this is what I want. And like, as you as an OC, as a wide receiver coach, I already know you have to have a jam up OL coach because, that's the hardest position to coach sometimes anyways, and then you also got to have a QB coach that you trust.
Then you know what I wish I would have gotten when I was like 25 is like a football 101 course. Because here's the with all the language, because you think about it, you come up in high school, you're taught one thing. You don't know anything other than that one thing, unless you're a coach's son or something, but like, this offense, for me, it was triple option. I didn't know spread offense. And then you might go play in college and you learn one more offense or maybe another offense. But what I see a lot of young coaches know, or a lot of inexperienced coaches, they don't know terms like zone scheme, gap scheme, cover 3, cover 4, cover 0. Like they'll just call it man. And I'm like, no, it's like what type. And I'm not saying I'm smart. It's just like, it took me longer than what it needed to, in my opinion, to learn all that stuff. And I think that's where a lot of the disconnect comes. We'll say something, okay, we're going to go same side, slide and dive with the running back on gap scheme. Well, then you have to define for a lot of guys what gap scheme is. We're opposite on zone scheme. So now, so it's just those little things I think are just, somebody do football 101 for coaches, man. And even me, I mean, it'd still be good to go through. I mean, but it's just, it's a lot to it.
That's such a strong point. And Coach, I can't agree with you more. I tell the guys all the time, like, you got to be able to talk ball. Like, you just got to talk ball. And I make it a point to teach my guys that, like, when I started coaching wideouts at Britt, like, one of the main things I wanted to make sure, like, my goal was to make sure that when they got to college, like, they were very much prepared, right?
Yes.
Like, knowing concepts, knowing what certain things were called, like having a strong foundation of technique. So now they just had to learn that system. The language may change, but like the techniques were there. Understanding leverages and depths and whatnot was there. Being able to find, the soft spots in the zone and how to exit. Like, those are the things that I very much teach. And one, I love teaching it. And two, I know, like, I'll die on this hill. The wideout position in high school football is the most undercoached position out of all of them. And like I said, I'll die on that hill. And I feel like most people will take, a really good athlete. And I'm not, again, let me just caveat and say, or preface by saying, I don't think it's wrong necessarily, but you take a really good athlete, put them on the perimeter. Hey, run a go, run a hitch, run this screen, and just do what you do. Be an athlete. But they're not teaching them, right, what to do, how to maneuver things. They're not teaching them the fundamental and the techniques. I do a lot of wideout training on the side. I got guys I get in all the time. I mean, it could be anywhere. They could be ninth graders. They could be college guys. And like, we'll go over certain things. And it's like, man, they don't even know the simple fundamentals of like hip drop or pressure step. And it's like, yes, you're getting by with what you do, not discounting that. But there's a right way to do it, or there's ways to do it, but then there's the best way to do it. And we're constantly searching for the best way to do it. You know what I'm saying? So when I get those guys, I want to make sure, even the dudes that I train, I need to make sure that you understand this position so well, so that no matter what system you get in, if it's a hitch against cover 3, you know how to attack it and you know where the exit's at. So now you're bettering yourself and you're becoming a more dangerous player. And that's the goal.
Yeah. All right. So I got a crazy take here, and I might not be crazy. I think the level of detail that is being coached at every position on the field has gotten worse over the last 15 years.
Oh,
and I think it's because scheme has gotten better. I think scheme has gotten better on both sides of the ball, but I think the details go down, and I just don't think you can do both. I don't think.
Hey man, we're moving. We are moving into that.
I'm sorry,
30-year-old, 40-year-old coach because
hat.
man, like
I'm an old hat.
No, but
I'm an old hat, bro.
I think every young guy has to go through that. Like every young guy has to go through thinking the best scheme wins, and then you quickly find out that okay, scheme matters, but technique and personnel are big triumphs. And it's like, but to your point, Coach, I see so many teams that just beat everybody in their region or non-region just because, like you're saying, they get the athlete the ball. And then when you match up with someone who can match up with your athletes, then you have nothing else to lean on. And that's where I'm a firm believer. It's like, oh, well, what's more important, culture versus scheme? Well, you need both. Like, if you don't have both, you're not going to be any good. And it's the same thing. And I've never met the guy, but here's what I can tell you. Tommy Knotts has done it in North Carolina and he's done it in South Carolina. Here's what I can tell you. He has players, but even his quote unquote down years, when I watch film and he don't have the players, they are coached to the technique and the scheme is perfect every time. And it's like, people are like, oh man, he just, he gets them in. And it's like, guys, like every time they run buck sweep, it doesn't matter what front or blitz or coverage the team's running, it's blocked up perfectly. And like, I watched them versus Dorman in the state championship probably 10 years ago now, but it's like, when you take coaching technique and high attention to detail and you put that with really, really good personnel, that's how you get Alabama.
Oh my God.
That's how you get those dynasties. And I'm firmly, like I said, never met them, but from what I've seen from the outside in, that's what Coach Tommy Knotts does.
And you always fall back to the lowest level of training, right? You're always going to fall back on your techniques. Like we always hear in sports forever, right? Like, hey, dude has a clutch gene. This dude has a clutch gene. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure if that's a real thing. What I do know is that those dudes are super technically sound because at the end of the day, right, they've done these movements so much. It doesn't matter if it's, 15 minutes on the clock, 1 second on the clock, the technique stays the same. I tell guys all the time, like, Steph Curry, obviously the greatest 3-point shooter of all time. When they asked him when he broke the record, hey, Steph, what do you think about when you shoot? And he was like, nothing. I've done it so many times. I don't got to think. And that's my goal with my players. Like I got to get them to a point where we do things until we can't get it wrong. Like I want to make sure no matter what it is, it doesn't matter the situation. It could be the most pivotal situation in the game. The technique stays the same, man. I mean, that's our standard.
I used to think that was all
most
BS.
technically sound out there.
Well,
Go ahead, Dustin.
I'm taking notes for my golf swing right now because like I got the scheme, boys, but that technique, there's no implicit, explicit
it's critical,
learning
man.
there,
and the
man.
young coaches, and really it could be any coach, but like they think it's all BS. They think, well, I can't go out there and do, perfect drill and pat and go and, do the stalk progression, and I'm going to do my single stick and double stick and diamond release every single day. Like they want a big toolbox. They want a lot of plays. They want to look flashy. And it's honestly, man, it's hurting the team because you're doing so much, but you don't have any real substance to anything that you're doing.
And that's the whole thing is like, what are we wanting to accomplish out of this? Like, I'm even watching some training camp stuff, and I'm watching guys, do, hip drops, and then they go into a pressure step. And I'm thinking like, what is the point of this? Like, it's just kind of,
you'll never do that.
Because it looks cool, and to me, it just has to make sense. So, I tell like my guys know, I mean, my stuff it's not sexy. It's boring to, if you're not a purist, I guess. Like you look at it, it's not the Instagram flashy stuff. And again, there's a place for that. I'm not knocking, to each their own. Right. But, if you look at our stuff, like when I'm training my guys, I mean, we have specific days that we work a specific fundamental movement. So for instance, like, I'm talking about training wise, if I'm training 4 times a week, on Saturdays is our hard break day. Well, my hard break day, we call them free throws, and that's something that we're going to do every single time to kind of work that fundamental movement. Hey, fellas, they start hands on the hips, standing up, and they just drop their hips as fast as they can. Super boring, not appealing, not aesthetically pleasing, none of that crap, but it's something that works. It helps them get the movement right.
Dude, you need to have the flashy. You need to have the flashy music. You need to have sick edits with just hip drops. And dude, if you post that, we'll blow it up. We're gonna blow it up.
Hey man, they see it all the time. Like I posted on my, I have a training page. I post my stuff on my training page, and it'll say free throws, and it'll literally be the same stuff. Stationary drop, step and drop, falling drop. If we're doing pressure step, we do power bounds, we do bound to build, we do one step stuff. And we never, Kobe Bryant said, you can't get bored with the basics.
Exactly.
We never get bored with the basics ever. And I ingrain that into my guys' minds because, they become so in love with what we do because they know it works and they see it work. And that's what helps.
And so what I love about this and what I love about doing this at Coach Speak is if we have one coach that listens to this podcast and realizes that potentially, hey man, I could be better, or I could come up with a plan, or you know what, maybe I do think scheme matters more than everything else, then us three have achieved what we're trying to talk about, because it's so important. I wish, like Jamie's saying at 25 Hannah Football 101, I wish that I could hear some of these conversations as a 22-year-old coach.
I need it today.
Yeah,
I need it
sure.
today. Like I think
there's
about
no
that
doubt
all the time.
about it. But it's like,
am I doing too much? Like, am I not? Like this conversation's helping me. It's like, am I not? Am I really dialing into the details? If I can't get the details right, we're doing too much. Like we just are, and it's going to hurt us. And then there's a balance. The other side is, well, if we do a lot, in the long run, we might get better. But I just don't think it'll jive. I think you got to try to have a scheme that you can, even if you do a lot, quote unquote, it's got to be very similar. So like for our quarterback, for instance, we may have, let's say it's 20 concepts or whatever, right? But I got to be able to manage what his eyes and feet do in only a few different ways. Like I can't have 20 different things that like 20 different scans, 20 different types of reads. It needs to be like 3 to 4. And then every concept you build in, it's kind of similar. So we can kind of apply the previous concept to the next concept and so forth. So I think, that's part of being an older coach and understanding how to teach, I think is something I've learned in the last 5 or 6 years.
And I think to add on to that, Jamie, what I enjoyed so much about coaching on the defense side of the ball is I thought it was easier at the high school level to still do what we want to do in a different way. So it's like, hey, we want to send a dual pressure this week. Well, that could be different every single week, but we're still achieving what we want to do, and that's a dual pressure.
Yeah.
And you can do that on offense, but we all know what are offensive coaches working. Hey, man, they brought double B all last week. So guess what you're going to work all week? Double B. Well, now it may be we're going to bring C from the boundary and bring A from the field. Still a dual pressure, still executing what we want, but it looks completely different. And I think the elite offensive coaches that I've watched or studied have found a way to, this is what we're going to do quick game wise, but here's how we're going to get to it, or here's who's going to do it. And I think that is what I've learned.
And it just allows you, like, think about it, right? Like, let's just say, just for the heck of it, you had 1 hour to run all these plays. I mean, if you had 30, 40 plays, you have to divvy up those 40 plays within that hour. If you have 15 concept, like, you're now dedicating more time to that, and that just helps you become better at it. So, and I fell victim, especially in the early parts of being a play caller. Like, I fell victim of, I'm scrolling on Twitter, I see this, someone posted a play, I'm like, oh, that's really cool, let's put it in. And now we're taking time to, install this play and rep it. And it's like we're taking away from the other stuff that we've been doing, and it didn't make sense. Like, there's ways to achieve it, like you guys were saying, built in within your system. And I think that's the beauty of play calling, right? Like, finding ways to achieve those certain things. Like, if my coach had a concept called triangle. Well, we don't have triangle anymore, but our one stick concept, we basically can get to the same thing just by running that concept. And all I did was change one route. Exactly. But it achieves the same thing. Right. And, for me, that was big. And again, it allows us to kind of, tighten things up as far as the amount of plays that we do. So now we can dedicate more time to each play specifically. And then as we go along, we add wrinkles, but they're just wrinkles. It doesn't take a whole lot. The concept still stays the same.
Exactly. I love that. And I think once you know your system the best, you'll learn how to scaffold it the best. So, like, for me, I don't do more than 4 concepts in any day. And usually those 4 concepts are all grouped together from the same sequence for our quarterback. So, like, if we're doing double slant, we're going to do double slant, we're going to do stick, and we might do curl, something like that. The next day, we're going to do all smash types. So it could be traditional smash, snag, and then what we call slash the boundary. It's like the same thing. So now it's almost like we can almost do more now because I've grouped them in a way, because I know my offense now. I know, like, not only why we have these concepts, but like how best to achieve efficiency and proficiency in the day, if that makes sense. Like, we'd only run one run concept a day. Like, that's how I am with it. And then, you have the RPO, you have this and that and that, and the shots or whatever off of it, and the play actions. But, like, we all do these sequences every single day. And I used to not be like that. And I think our players have gotten better because I've become a better teacher, because I understand a little bit better.
Yeah. And here's, like, so you have a double slant concept, right? So, like, this is where the teaching to me comes in handy as far as the technique goes. So we may call double slant. We don't know. I mean, this team shows this base coverage, but what if they change? What if they go man? What if they go whatever? This is where the teaching comes in play, because now my wideouts know, like, it doesn't matter what the look is. They know how to attack that defender based on what he's giving us. So, for instance, right, like, and this is why, like, when I get these, especially guys training with me for the first time, I got to explain to them, like, you don't just run a slant the same way every single time. Like, I'll have guys all the time, first time out there, they run a 3-step slant and they throw that hard foot in the ground. They give that shoulder shake, whatever. And it's like, no, if it's cover 3 and you have off coverage, we're going to just roll it. Like, we're going 3 steps. You're going to hit that pressure, we call it subtle pressure, and just bang it. You don't have to give a shoulder fake, because there's nobody there. And that's what I have to get my guys to understand, is what to do and when to do it based on what you see. So the route we can still run the slant, whether it's press man, catch, off, they know what to do. And that's where the teaching comes in.
Yeah. And man, that's so good. That's such good stuff. And I think kind of where I've gotten to the point is, okay, coaching defense for the past few years is when we go against a team, I'm going to find out two things, or the first thing I'm going to find out is how much of a base mode defense are you and how much of a stunt mode defense are you? So how much are you actually going to play technique and get your hands on O-linemen and read keys, or versus how much are you just going to try to shoot gaps and maybe play some more one high man coverage behind it? Because I think that's super important to know who is this coordinator, because I've worked with coordinators who they run man coverage 14 times in a row and then get pissed off when the corner gets beat on play 15. Well, dude, like he's running after the receiver his whole freaking drive. Like that's why he's getting beat. But it's like, I think as an offensive coach, the first thing you got to find out is how much are they base mode versus stunt mode, because that's going to give you a picture of what do we really need to prepare for? Are they a base defense that sprinkles in stunt mode, or is their defensive mentality we're going to cause havoc the entire game? And, you know, and we see that a lot more with odd people. They're going to send forth rushers and, you know, so it's like, shout out to Peeler. He's no longer coaching, but he did a lot of that at Clover. But it's like, that's the first thing I look at. I want to know who you are, what's your mentality. The second thing I want to find out is what is your coverage structure from boundary to field, and that's how we're going to go. How do you handle the boundary? It doesn't matter what coverage you play. You can play split field. You can play one high. It does not matter. I want to know how are you going to cover the boundary, and then how does that carry over to the field? Because that's going to tell me everything I need to know about what's the best concepts. How do we need to do this? Like, are you going to be +1 in the boundary? Great. You're going to be minus to the field or in the box some way. If you're minus or neutral in the boundary, now we're cooking. Now we want to figure out where to go and what to do. But I think coaching defense has given me that mentality of what is the coordinator's mentality? Is he, I'm going to get hands on the OL and I'm going to read keys and linebackers are going to fit based on guards? Or is he saying, you know what, man, we ain't, is he the flashy offensive guy? Is he just going to do things with his players, or is he going to teach technique? And I think if you can figure that out, it will at least help you prepare better to know, man, what we have to expect.
No, absolutely. That's really good stuff. And you know, we'll definitely take looks at that for sure. We're very similar there. And then I'm also finding, man, you know, where are the matchups that we want to exploit? Like, who are the guys that we just need to pick on? And that's no knock. I mean, it is what it is. Like, not everyone's gonna be the best on that group, man. So we gotta find that fish, man, and just and fry them up if we can. You know, we're gonna look at that, and then just, you know, kind of going back to what we were saying before, like just having some ball knowledge, right? Like understanding what, like, hey, this 3-4 defense, they want to stay balanced. Okay, cool. Let's get more into 12 personnel and get them out of that balance that they want to stay in and get them uncomfortable. Those are the things that, you know, we have to understand as play callers. But it goes back to your point, Jamie, right? Like having that knowledge, like learning that stuff over the years allows you to better yourself down the line. And if, you know, it's funny because nowadays you have more access to unlimited resources. I mean, Twitter alone, you know, I was late to the Twitter party, and then I quickly realized how much information is being shared on there. And then, you know, during COVID, obviously we did all those, you know, me alone, I did 300, 400 Zoom clinics. Like, people were sharing so much knowledge. Like, you can't not find the answers.
Right.
It's just people have become so lazy because, again, like, you're relying on just, hey, these players are going to make plays. We could just line up. If they mess it up, they're going to make it up the next time. But it's like, man, you can learn so much. And to me, it's fun, man. I geek out on that stuff, man. I want to nerd out on all the offensive philosophy stuff, all the wideout technique stuff. I'm at clinics. I want to sit in the defensive stuff because I want to see what these dudes are teaching and how I can combat it. Like, that stuff is fun for me. But, you know, I get it, like, to your point, man, not everyone's doing that now. And it is sad, man. It's sad.
Yeah.
So
that's why we started the Coach Speak Pro stuff. So like it's like a shameless plug, but like we have videos on there from guys that we trust, like literally talking the basics of like
man.
Dustin's going through like this is what defenses are trying to do. And then, you know, and I have like, I don't know. It's just, we have a lot of cool stuff on there about coverages and like just teaching the basic stuff. So like you could talk ball, you can speak this language as a younger coach that didn't have to learn it through osmosis or learn it through, you know, trial and error. And I think there's a lot to be said about, players understanding that too. But it's I don't want to get on that soapbox again.
Well, it's like, I think that's why there's so many bust quarterbacks at the college level now.
100%.
Like
NFL too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's just they when they get there they bust because for a couple of reasons. Like they were just athleting in high school, but then I'm not a college coach, but a lot of college coaches recruit personnel to fit what they want to do.
No doubt.
They don't adapt their personnel based on what they got, and I think I saw or read something about like Clemson. Like their defensive coordinator, when he first got there, struggled a little bit because it wasn't the personnel to run what he was comfortable running. And like, I totally get what he's saying, brother. We do that every year. Like,
Yeah, literally.
well, depend on what high school it is. Some high schools go get their talent, but
yeah, like you said, man, the athleticism. I mean, it is 100%, man. It is a gift to have, but like if it's not being utilized correctly or you not understanding, you're going to be so limited. That's a reason a 44-year-old Phillip Rivers can come back in the league right off the couch
100%.
and still do his thing because
Yes.
he has a knowledge of the game. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
There's
no
a reason
secret
no
there.
one took his job yet. It's because they're not any good at quarterback.
Let's be real.
Like
be
you're
real,
not
you
good
know?
at quarterback if you can't take over Aaron Rodgers. I mean,
No,
I'm an Aaron
100%.
Rodgers guy. Like I'm all about it. But dude, he's 40
Yeah.
something. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. I remember, Phil Longo. I mean, obviously, great play caller. Head coach at Sam Houston State now. I mean, really good dude. I mean, he's told me every year, man, like the best coaches are high school coaches. I mean, we have to do more with less, right? Like we got to figure things out with just what we have in the building. And that is such it's funny. It's like a gift and a curse, right? Like it's frustrating, in the moment sometimes, but man, it really forces you to have to teach and get some kids that like are maybe less talented to a point where they could produce, for the first, I don't even know, probably maybe 5-6 years coaching wideouts at Britt, I didn't have a returner. I didn't have more than one returner. Like
Wow.
it would be, one kid coming back and then new guys, and it would just work out like that. So I was constantly having to teach like a fresh group that was super inexperienced, not super talented. And it wasn't the best as far as like, man, I didn't have these guys routing them up and everything, but it really forced me to have to find new ways of teaching and really like take a look at what I was doing and if it was beneficial to the different learning styles that I was dealing with. And I'm not saying that necessarily led to this, but I think it does kind of attribute to where we're at now. Like over the years, just building this culture, we call it Flight Club, building this culture of wideout play at Jack Britt High School. I mean, I would say we're very much known for having route runners here. And it's something that we have prided ourselves on and really established this culture some years ago through guys that have now withstood. Like just this past year, I had a 4-year starter graduate. Hadn't had that ever, and I mean, he has passed his stuff along to kids. He still comes back at the sessions. He's at UNCP. So it's just, it's funny where it started, but having to force myself to really find different ways to teach these different learning styles and talent levels to where we're at now. And it's definitely made me a better coach.
Yeah. Can you imagine being, and this is kind of giving a little bit of a break to NFL and college guys, but like a college guy now is kind of doing what we have to do. It's like every year or two, you're going to have to you're going to have to teach a different group again.
Yeah.
And it's not just that, but it's like, you get this turnover, they get in there late, you got about a summer to get it done, and then they got to go play. So how good is a quarterback play really going to be? Like if you're having to get an entire offense in to handle all the different, questions that you're going to have to answer when you get all these defenses in the SEC, what are you really going to be teaching your quarterback? A 3-step drop on timing, and like you're really going to get out there with a stopwatch and like time up the 6-step corner route with your quarterback? No, dude. You're going to be teaching them and say, hey, look, dude, we got you in here. We paid you $1 million. You get it done. That's what's happening. And that's what's been happening in the NFL for years. Like they all have their own trainers. They all have this. They all have OTAs and player affiliate, player associations. Like that's what's happened at those two levels. We've just been kind of dealing with that for years. But that I think that's why the game is starting to go downhill a little bit.
No, you're right.
And it's that position.
Oh God, yeah.
Like it's that position.
Mm-hmm.
Like man, you get an offensive lineman if he's athletic enough, you can teach him how to block. You know what I mean? Like
be a
you get a
DN's
deep,
coach.
yeah. Oh, no doubt.
Sorry,
dude. Like,
sorry, DL guys. sorry, dude.
Hey man, I gotta coach Micah Parsons today. Sorry, guys.
Sorry about that, man. Dude,
It's
the
crazy,
dude played
man.
on like 3 days of practice,
Yeah.
and had like 3 sacks. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, really had to coach him
It
up.
is crazy. It is crazy that fast turnover is definitely, it's definitely forced coaches to, I think, to coach differently. And
Mhm.
I forget who told me this. Someone was recently talking about it, but also building the culture like in your position group is kind of hard because sometimes, like in the past, right, you relied on those 4-year, 5-year guys that have been with you and have been grinding it with you, and they've really built and emulated the culture. And now, like, they're so. I mean, it's a revolving door. So
Hey, it's like, hey, coach,
hard.
what's your mission statement? I don't know, because we don't have anybody who's been here long enough for
Depends
our
on the
mission
year.
to be sought out. like, hey, our mission is to do this, but we just ain't had nobody longer than a year or two to
Get
do it
them
with.
here and
Like,
keep them here.
Our mission is
that's the mission.
Our mission is to keep guys for 4 years. Good luck.
yeah,
And it's hard. It's really hard. I mean, and the sad part is, right, it's definitely trickled down into high school. You see so many kids that are bouncing all over the place. And, again, I mean, people are going to transfer for different reasons and to each their own again. But I mean, for a lot of high school coaches, it's tough.
Yeah,
A lot of high
and
school
look,
stuff.
the transfer thing is not a recruiting thing all the time.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes I'm sure it is. Like, but I've been to places where, man, people just show up, and you're like, what are we supposed to do now? It's like, we gotta, like, you know what I mean? It's like, well, dang,
hey,
we
man,
got
if you
this
don't
other problem.
if you don't like your job, how long before you start looking for another job?
Exactly.
I mean, like,
that's kind of the thing, man. Like,
it's like
the game
like,
we
yeah,
live.
you might power through for a year or two, but it's like at the end of the day, if you're not happy and you feel like you should be somewhere else, you're going to pursue those opportunities. And it's like, who are we to tell kids that they can't do that too?
Especially if your time is limited. You only got a couple years.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking about I got a 30-year career. I got to make some decisions. It's like, no, man, I'm a junior and I'm not starting at quarterback. Like, kind of hard to tell a kid, hey, man, stick it out, pal. It's going to be good for you. It's like, if you want to play college ball, I mean, it's just hard, man. I mean, I'm not saying that's the right move, but you can see where decisions have to be made.
Yeah, that's why I love. I mean, I love the high school level for a multitude of reasons. I think one of those reasons, though, is just because you have guys, typically with you for all 4 years, hopefully, and then as they transition to college, they'll still come back and work. Like, again, like I've been working with my guys and guys that have graduated 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, still coming back, and what it's allowed me to do in my sessions is build a culture there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't even have, like, if I wasn't there, and let's say, my JV head coach, who's my like assistant at my sessions, if he's there, good hands. If my kid that just graduated, 4-year starter, like if he was just at a session and I told him to run it, he could run it. And watching the guys out there, they police each other. The environment is a competitive environment, and that's something that we built. So for an example, right, like, our yak mentality is like, you got to make the first man miss. So when we catch the football, there has to be some type of game tempo type move, somewhere. I don't care what it is, because you got to experiment out there. And my guys are real good now. So like, they'll catch the ball, someone doesn't do it, maybe they jog, and they tell them, hey man, down and back. And it's just the culture that we've established. Like, it's just the standard. We have a standard of how we catch the football. We have a standard of how we do, what we do with the ball after we catch it. We have a standard of everything. So it's allowed us to build that culture within, our wide out, I guess, community, so to speak, because it stretches outside of our school. And it's really cool to see. And that's what really motivates me. I love seeing that.
Yep. Man, that's so good. I like the way that you kind of break it down for your kids, like each category of play, how we do it, what's accepted and what's not accepted.
No doubt.
Man, that's awesome. Jamie, you want to hit a couple rapid fire?
Yeah, man, it's been awesome. This has been a lot of good conversations.
It's fun.
So I'm going to start it off, Coach. I'm going to start this one.
Go for it.
All right, man. What's the best route in football?
Best route in football? The one that works. Nah, I don't know. I'm a big heartbreak guy, man. I just love anything that breaks. So I don't know, curl, dig, come back. I would say one of the just a hard breaking route. My whole thing is like we work the break so much that we're just so confident that we're gonna win no matter what. Like we break way more than the guys across from us, so we have that kind of competitive arrogance when it comes to hard breaking routes.
What about you, Coach Martin? You are a new wide receiver coach. What is the best route in football, pal?
Below or above the hard deck?
Man, I don't know, dude. Just give us something.
I mean, man, like I think anytime you can have like Dub used to talk about the pinwheel. I think anytime you can have the ability to have a base route and then call off of that. So, for example, you have your post route. If you have the ability and the personnel where you can adjust it with like what we call a purl, which is a post curl, or a pinch, which is a post bench, like I would say, and I know it's kind of cheating because it's not one route, but the ability to either teach them to snap the route would be bigger for me. So always being able to be open. That's the route.
Like choice. Yeah. So you want choice at every, what is it? The whole like spider web of choices.
Option routes are a lot of fun. And my guys love running them, especially because they can add their own creativity to it. Shoulder work, tempo changes. Those are fun too.
Man, I'll tell you the best thing I love seeing, even at quarterback too, like, but coaching receivers is a second level defender. We restacked the second level defender on a 6-step corner. And we break the safety off. The safety's like, pissing down his leg. And then we throw a back pylon, beautiful ball. It lays in there. Dude, that right there gives me the fizz. That's one of the best. That you work a straight line pad level.
Man, I'm shocked you didn't say backside dig.
Nah, that's lame, dude. Backside digs, those are always picked off. If you don't hit. It's like a touchdown or interception.
What I like, I've been liking watching our kids run sail routes versus apex defenders because they understand that they're going to drop to try to collision and they'll kind of lean on them at the top
them and then get back out.
And
I just love that
that's my
stuff.
favorite thing to watch.
I love a good honestly, I love a good intermediate speed cut out route where there's a defender like running alongside you. I love watching a really good wide out kind of stay in that drive phase, right? Like really stay in that attack mode and then snap that speed out off.
Yes.
That's a lot of fun to watch because I love seeing going from shoulder to shoulder to see how much separation. They can create.
We call it a big boy body lane. Get on.
Yeah, and the body language is key, man. We could have a whole hour talking about that.
On that guy.
But it's funny because like the double move stuff is so glorified that like you miss the fine details and the simple stuff or the simple stuff like a speed out or a dig, and it's just stuff like that, man, is what I love watching.
Like watching a snag just settle perfectly off the star,
and then the exit after.
Yes, and just drop step, like a good drop step.
Drop step is the key, man.
With 2 hands on the ball, like, and then get out there. I love it. I'm a nerd. I'm a receiver nerd at heart.
Hey, Coach, I'm telling you, man.
I know you are, Coach.
We could talk a whole night about exits and all that stuff.
I love it.
All right, next one, Coach. So this is a 2-part question. What is your favorite zone coverage to attack and your worst, the zone coverage you hate attacking the most? And I know there's not a ton of them out there. But
I would say favorite, probably just cover 3, with the space on the outside. I think, obviously quick game is key there. And, the opportunity for exits are really advantageous. From catching a hitch and finding the seams to knife up, I think is, if you coach it up well, you could really feast off that. But obviously as the coordinators, sometimes you get impatient and antsy and want to take a shot, and then that's when the picks happen. But that's a whole nother ball game. But and then I would say probably cover 2 only because like sometimes just the guys struggle with the hard corner out there, figuring out what it is, and obviously from even a quarterback perspective, guys starting to disguise it with like a palms look, right? Like showing that man and kind of sinking back into the zone, I think can cause some issues. But just the physicality sometimes of that cover 2 corner can pose some issues with guys, and just finding the best way to do it. Sometimes we get caught up doing attempting to do too much when it really doesn't take a whole lot, but I would probably say cover 2 would probably be the harder of the two.
Jamie?
Yeah, I think the hardest coverage is 7-on-7 drop 8. Dude, the cover 7 drop 8, like whatever that's about.
Yeah.
That's when we run double smash with the running back
vertical,
seam down the middle.
Yeah, then they're gonna go, well, coach, we went 3 high double cloud, 3 high double cloud. Sorry. Yeah. So no.
Oh man. I would say for me, I think the toughest zone coverage is when you have the ability to have 3 hog mollies up front and you can drop that 8th guy. Like, to your point, it's there's always a pass space open if you got 4 on the line, but as soon as you start dropping that 8th defender, it allows you to have the weakness of your coverage is now protected, and you're going to make them force the ball to go where you want it to. Our defense will have 8 on 7-on-7 most of the time at practice. But no, man, and some days it's good to have it to work. Like, because you're going to see it at some point.
Burns ran against us a lot because what the heck, they didn't have to bring 4. They were getting home with 3, and it was rough, man.
But like, to Coach's point, Coach, like, if we see cover 3 where they apex the safeties, the down safeties, dude, I'll take cover 3 all day long.
I agree.
Because
that's a great one.
You have no force player to stop the perimeter run game, the screen game. And if you can teach a kid how to apex in 2x2 and end up as the force player outside, then you're doing a really good job. You're a heck of a coach, because it ain't going to happen. And it's like, if you don't play divider rules, even if you play spot drop, cookie cover 3, if you don't play at least minimum inside eye of the number 2 receiver, you're in trouble. And like, well, you can say, well, we fit him inside and we let the other safety come outside. Well, okay, like, I'm not doing that on defense. So when we see those teams, I tell our kids, like, they cannot stop Sale. It won't happen. They can't stop quarterbacks. They can't.
And quarterbacks these days don't have to roll out anymore. I mean, my quarterbacks don't roll out to Sale. Like, we throw field comebacks. Like, that's just that's part of it. I mean, all of our guys have been able to do that, and I'm not the only one. I know other quarterbacks. So yeah, you're right. Cover 3 is probably the one that
we look to put that flat defender in a conflict as much as we can. I mean, whether it's a slant flat, whether it's whatever. I mean, we 3x1 and running stick, and it's like he can't be right. He just can't be right. So wanting to really, and again, like, when even in that short stuff, if the ball is thrown on time, and we're exiting right with a good drop, like, there's so much room to create and a ton of space. So yeah, we want to take that all day.
Good deal, man. This has been excellent. Over an hour. It feels like it. We hadn't even been talking much. I have to have you back on, man. Already here, man. Well, best of luck to you guys, man. And we'll definitely keep in touch and keep up with you this year.
Yeah, definitely, fellas. Hey, thank you so much for the opportunity, man. Best of luck to you guys, and let's get back on the line and talk some ball again.
Let's do it, Coach. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Y'all have a good night.
You too.
Yes, sir. Later.
Thanks for tuning into the Coach Speak podcast. If you're interested in being a guest speaker on the show, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at coachspeakpodcast1@gmail.com. And if you have a question for our Q&A segment, don't forget to submit it through the form in the episode description. We appreciate your support, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.